What's a music opinion that'll have everybody looking at you crazy?
There is not a year where Jay-Z was indisputably the hottest or the best rapper in the game. Jay-Z came in the game in 1996. I think we can all agree that's Tupac's year. 1997, Biggie died. In 1998, which was kind of his breakout year, DMX had 2 #1 albums in that year. 1999, DMX again, who outsold Jay-Z by a big margin. Year 2000, Nelly and Eminem both went down. Now 2001 would have been the best argument, but then Ludacris came in the game with hits like Area Codes, Move, Bitch, Roll Out. 2002, here go Eminem again, dropping the Eminem Show, another diamond album. As well as Nelly dropping another album that sold like 7 million. Jay-Z who? 2003 was obviously 50 Cent's year. He retired, came back in 2006. At that point, T.I. was on top of the game. 2007 undoubtedly goes to Kanye, graduation year, can't be serious. And 2008 to like 2011 clearly goes to Lil Wayne.
That's Wayne.
So at what point was he the hottest rapper in the game?
X was with it, Ja was with it.
Jay wasn't with it.
I tried 2 times to make that album happen. X was with it, Ja was with it.
Why you think Jay didn't want to be that way?
This is just my opinion. Just my opinion. I don't think Jay wanted to get in that room with X and Ja. It was not.
One more than the other, or
Listen, no,
both?
No, both. Jay is a very smart person. He's going to do an album with R. Kelly. R. Kelly worships Jay-Z. Worships him.
And Kanye West.
Kanye West worships Jay-Z.
And Jay Electronica.
They all worship the nigga. X and Ja don't worship Jay-Z. You're my man, but when that beat comes on, you're not above me getting at you, nigga. And that's what I do not feel Jay wanted to deal with. He didn't want to deal with... You know, I'm saying these niggas, they would come at each other subliminally. So it wasn't a direct hit where they gonna say your name and thing. But these niggas, they coming at you. So do I want to make a whole album with these niggas coming at me? And if I'm Jay-Z, there's a slight chance that, what is niggas gonna say? I'm not the nicest nigga.
That's what I'm...
Right.
That's what I'm...
It's not worth it.
Where's my win?
Right.
The only thing I'm seeing with this is potential loss. With now people are saying, these niggas is better than you.
I heard that you actually went to school with Jay-Z and Biggie Smalls. Is that true?
Yeah. I went to George Westinghouse Technical and Vocational High School with Biggie and Jay-Z.
Were y'all like doing music in the hallway together and beating on the lockers, or like?
Hove was rhyming. Me and him battled in school. Biggie wasn't really rhyming. But Biggie was rhyming, but he just wasn't doing it in school like that.
Right. Did you think Jay-Z would be like where he is today, like thinking back from high school, that you know like he would like end up being on this level today?
We was all humble beginnings, and we was trying to find our way in this. The one thing that I can say about Jay was even in school, he was fresh. He was always fly. He was always clean. You know, he always got to the money. You know, he moved smart. You was able to see that. So, you know, Hove always was the type of motherfucker that would get to it.
Right.
Whether it was rap or it was outside of rap, he got to it. And Biggie was the same way. When none of us was being successful as rap dudes, we got to it in other ways.
Right.
You know, we was all in our own way exemplifying the fact that we was getting to it.
Yo, I fuck with Nas.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the cooler ones that like, cause I determine who's...
He understood the game very well.
Well, you see how cool somebody is when they're older.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, it's easy to be cool when you're 21. Like, Reckless is like, you're supposed to be that. But, like, sometimes after 30, you don't change your jeans and your cut is different and you start to get corny and you don't even know it.
You stay in that moment in time.
You stay in that moment in time. Like, it's not your high school days. You don't wear the same cut jeans you had back when you was rolling. So, I think he's evolved well. I never look at him and think he's like someplace he shouldn't be.
Correct, yeah.
I look at the investments and the things that he does, and then he says my name sometimes in rhymes. But he's one of the dudes that I consider straight vinyl, pure hip hop, unadulterated.
Correct,
I haven't seen him do too many. I haven't seen him do nothing corny. So I have a respect for him.
Yeah.
So get up off your ass like the seats hot. Motherfucking anniversary. When this man dropped, the whole rap game changed. Queens in the building, bro. Shout out Tony Yayo, Uncle Murder. My brothers, I love you, man. Make some noise.
You know it. We argued over the years. He say Jay-Z the GOAT. I say he the GOAT.
So my little bro, the greatest rapper of all time. So you know how I feel about that.
You know what I mean? And that the same concept with the Super Bowl. See, they don't understand the relationship. They was trying to get him to do the Super Bowl without me.
Wasn't happening.
And that's not it. It wouldn't happen.
No way.
You see what I'm saying? Because he would look and go, it's okay for them, the award shows, not to give me the trophies. If you look at even Jay-Z's career, you can look at that and say the association to Beyonce is when he started to receive the 16, 17 Grammys since he's been with Beyonce. Right? And you go, prior to that, 1.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that came in association, like you see the kids even have Grammys. Like they don't sing yet. They don't sing.
Right.
They don't rap yet. And they already have Grammys and shit. So it's like they give them this trophy so we secure that they're coming to the award show. It meant that much to the culture that they just gave them the things that would later. To me, I didn't care about the trophies. I said I'll get the checks.
Right.
And because what I was saying, the content was raw enough, like, and who I am.
Sure.
Just my experience is a little bit abrasive to conservatives.
Sure.
You know, the way they see it. So they'll look at it and go, oh, okay, like, and I haven't experienced much that Jay probably hasn't experienced in Marcy, but what I would say is he has it's internal, like he's a quiet person. So you don't see that you don't feel the energy that actually goes on in that environment.
Sure.
From him. And then I really don't care about that. Like I looked at a lot of the later people look at it and they honor those things. It didn't matter to me in the time period when we go down. Don't give me the trophy. So what? Sure. You know, best new artist. They didn't give me best new artist. I sold 13 million records. It's the largest debut in hip hop out. And then you go, the new things that come, but I understand it because they didn't give me the best new artist because they were afraid that kids would want to be 50 Cent.
Who had the better verses on Renegade, M or J?
Hey man, you know. Hey man, Eminem. And I fought with Jay-Z. Like Jay-Z one of the best, top 5. You know what I mean? Solo rappers, top 5. You know what I mean? But Eminem at that time was a fucking monster, man. He was eating everybody that stood next to him. Now, what you're gonna say, and what most people are gonna say is, well, I identify more with what Jay-Z said because that's my life and that's where I come from and that's my background. Okay, that's right. But at the same time, you got to look at Eminem and say, yeah, but look at the kids that was looking up to him, look like him, and got his background. Now that takes him off into the middle of America and a lot of places that we probably wasn't at yet. So if you look at the demographics, I'm sure that Eminem and Jay-Z, Eminem took Jay-Z into a lot of places and a lot of households he had never been in just because he was on the song with Eminem. So you got to look at both sides of it. If you was to put the same light on M, he really represented his community the same as Jay represented his community at the time of them doing that record. But as far as influence, shit, to me, M came out as being as great or even as a better rapper than Jay, technically, on that record, you know? And I know as far as it being his record, I think that he took Jay-Z into households that Jay-Z wasn't in at that time. He made Jay-Z cooler. There's no way Jay-Z made him cooler.
What happened was on Rockefeller, I felt that Jay-Z, Benny Siegel was the shit, nigga.
Yeah, he was fired.
And they would only let Benny Siegel only sell so many records. This came from an executive at Rockefeller, because I knew everybody. And they would only let Benny sell so many records. And that was it. and they wouldn't push it no more. But Benny, they would you couldn't be bigger than Jay-Z on Jay-Z's label, if that makes any sense. They wasn't gonna push you to that you couldn't be bigger than Jay-Z. You couldn't sell more records than Jay-Z. But all you had to do was listen to Benny Siegel shit, and Benny Siegel was oh my God, nigga, oh my God. And there's no hate to nobody. Jay-Z, you still my dog. You did my birthday party. You're a multi-billionaire now. Benny Siegel, you still my nigga. I'm always going to show you love.
And you said that an executive directly told you this?
Yes. Sure did. Remember, I know everybody.
You know, I started working with Jay-Z. I started taking him in the studio and trying to get him signed. And, you know, we went to many different labels.
I need you to name one label that they eat their heart out. Who did you bring that fronted on Jay-Z?
Giant Records.
Oh, they gone.
Def Jam.
Def Jam. They fucked up Def Jam. Go ahead.
Giant Records, Def Jam, Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers, you fucked up. We get money from Warner Brothers.
When I'm on Warner Brothers. I was on Warner Brothers.
That's wild that they just.
Wow.
You're fast fucking with Jigger. I'm like Prince Jeans, I bring the ass out the nigga. When I rock it, it's in the pocket. Baby, mop it, don't knock it till you try it. Once you start, you can't stop it.
You mentioned Jay-Z. I know one year you
Jay, that's all that, you know what I mean, Stun ain't gonna hear that shit. Yeah, he ain't disliking me, it was just that I'm too much on it. I like Biggie, love Biggie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Love Jay the Kiss, love all that shit, but Jay.
Best rapper alive, the next rapper in line.
What it is, running it down on these niggas. Sex, drugs, money, and murder, my nigga. You know how we did it, my nigga. Still be painting them bitches, my nigga. Ripping that roll, fucking your bitches. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. 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 Niggas, they never gon' hurt you. Niggas, they never will hurt you. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. How the traps right, understand how to get that. Ran down on them niggas with a flip back. Knew I never seen none of nigga live like that. I was still getting stacks back. Had to fuck around getting them packs back. Niggas.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Bulletz Gotti. You already know what it is. It's been a minute since I did a video. I'm back working, back dropping this content. And let's talk about it. So, I've been watching a couple videos. I've been hearing a lot of conversations. And the conversations that I've been seeing on YouTube from channels like Rap Roundtable or Hip Hop DX or certain clubhouse rooms that I've been in, or according to, you know, the hip hop page, according to hip hop, or Dead End Hip Hop, or Billboard, whatever you get your publications or conversations. And when it comes to Jay-Z, and I'm gonna just keep it all the way real, I never understood the hype of Jay-Z. I never understood, and I've done previous videos about Jay-Z, and I never understood the overhype shit and the cap. Because I remember the late 90s, okay? I remember the 2000s. And I remember who had the culture at that time. And Jay-Z wasn't a top dog. Jay-Z was a local rapper, okay? He was a local rapper, okay? He wasn't an international superstar. You know, he wasn't the biggest out of New York. He was just local. People love to talk about Volume 2. Volume 2, the success of Volume 2 comes from Mark 45 King, Kid Capri, Irv Gotti, Swiss Beats. And then you gotta add Rockwilder and Eric Sermon. If he didn't have Swiss Beats, Irv Gotti, Mark the 45 King, and Kid Capri giving him that Annie beat, And then the records that he did with Irv and Swiss, that album would have never sold 5 million and it would never got a Grammy. DMX was on fire in 98. Straight out the gate. 98 is DMX year. You know, there's a lot of rappers that came out in 98. Pun, Juvie, Cam, you know, Suta Shaka, Nori, Cannabis. A lot of rappers came out in 98. 50, you name them. Everybody came out in 98. But DMX was one of one that came out in 98 because he gave you Dark as Hell is Hot, Flesh in My Flesh, and then he, in 99, he just went crazy and gave you Then There Was X, which was another classic album. And DMX was on a milestone run. But I always ask people, what era did Jay-Z have? And they'll say, oh, but he had 98. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He didn't have 98. Okay? Jay-Z, it was a point in time that Jay-Z was not very well liked by the critics and by the fans in the streets. When he did Volume 1, perfect example, that album was hated by many. Dudes in the streets and the critics. That's why he went back and did Volume 2 chasing the DMX sound, chasing the DMX wave. Jay-Z has always been a trend hopper. That's why I always tell people, what era did he have? He's never been original because he copied the trends that was popping. Whether it was the mafioso trend or what AZ and Raekwon was doing and cats like Smooth the Hustler. You know, Reasonable Doubt, if you listen to Reasonable Doubt and then you play Do or Die, it's the same album. It's the same album. If you play Do or Die and you play Reasonable Doubt, it's the same album. And then you sprinkle a little Only Built for Cuban Links in there. It's the same album. Same subject matter, same everything. Same album. AZ talking about Venezuela, smoking his Chiba. Jay-Z talking about St. Thomas. But it's the same album. Same lavish living, Cristal sipping, pushing foreign whips, talking that hustler talk. It's the same shit that AZ was talking about on Do or Die. You know, and then when you go into 96 and you really look at his album didn't sell that much. It flopped. Reasonable Doubt flopped. It wasn't no cult classic like people like to say. You know, people didn't start getting on to Reasonable Doubt until 2002. People was not into Jay-Z because you have to remember he came out in 96. And then previously before when he came out, he was rapping like the Fushnikins, Das Effects. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't have a flow like Nas and many other rappers. He had a flow that was, you know, a little popular, but it wasn't all that popular. You know, it was just the flow at the time because Das Effects was big and Fushnikins was big. So he was rapping like them. Right? Slowed the flow down because of Nas and Biggie and AZ and many others that came out. But when it came to 96, you had too much motherfuckers that was just ripping shit. When you got Fuji's second album, The Score, when you got Ghostface Killer debut album, The Iron Man, classic. When you got, you know, AT Aliens, Outkast. When you got All Eyes on Me, Tupac, Amari Shakur, Killing the Game, 2 discs, 5 times platinum. When you got Nas, 3 times platinum, It Was Written. What are we talking about? Nas and Pac had 1996. It was their year. Nas and Pac was 1996. And then you add the Fugees in there. 1996 was the year of Nas and really the two biggest solo artists at that time was Nas and Tupac. Because it was their year, 1996. And then you fast forward from 96, you go into 97. This is the year that Biggie passed. So it was a Bad Boy year in 97. Remember, Bad Boy closed out Summer Jam that year in 97. Yes. Okay? Puff drops No Way Out, a classic. That album eventually, the next year, got a Grammy. Life After Death comes out that same year. Biggie starts it off with Life After Death, and then Puff comes in with No Way Out. And then from Puff, you got Harlem World, where Mace is the guy. Mace is the face. So 1997 was the year of Mace. Mace took over. Puff and Big set it off, and Mace took it all the way to the finish line. And he was the king of 1997. He was the man. He was the man. Mace was the man. He was the man. You know, he was in demand. You know, and then you got DMX coming in 97. Going featuring on everybody track. And then by 98, he was the dude. You understand what I'm saying? Jay wasn't in the conversation. So when people talk about that, oh, the Jay-Z, Biggie, and Nas, it was never no Jay-Z, Biggie, and Nas conversation. Because the man was never in the conversation. You have to remember, he's coming off of Reasonable Doubt, which did not have commercial success. It was a flop. It was a lackluster flop album. And it didn't get it success until 2002. Let's keep it real. He comes out with Volume 1, Signs of Def Jam, and it was a bad boy sounding album. He was trying to copy what Mace, Big, and Puff was doing. And it was lukewarm. The response of that album was lukewarm. It did not get the support that he thought it would have got. Dudes was saying it was corny, okay, and trash, okay. Just off of the strength of the Sunshine record, they was like it was corny, it was trash. I remember, and nobody was fucking with it, and niggas wasn't even fucking with Jay. And then he comes out with Streets is Watching, trying to get the street edge, right? Because he see what DMX is doing. DMX is the voice of the streets, right? DMX is the voice of the streets. So what Jay does, he does Murder Green with X and Ja. Then he works on Volume 2. He gets Irv Gotti. He gets Swiss Beats. And then by getting them on the album, he goes and get, you know, the Annie record, which he heard at the No Way Out tour, which basically, you know, was, you know, the precursor of his success. White people love Annie. So that's how he got the mainstream success. But was he bigger than X? No, he wasn't. So he took a back burner to DMX, just like he took a back burner to Mace, just like he took a back burner to Tupac and Nas in 96, right? 99, he still takes a back burner to motherfucking DMX. But he gets the Philly dudes, and let's just keep it real. If you watch videos like, even when you look at Prodigy, what Prodigy issue was with Jay-Z. Jay-Z was copying the styles of Nas and Mobb Deep, doing videos in the projects, wearing the jerseys. He was trying to copy their style. It's like he was trying to copy DMX style. Trend hopping. Like he was copying Mace shit. Trend hopping. Copying AZ shit. Trend hopping. That's all he was doing. Trend hopping, right? Goes into 99, he gets, you know, Beanie Siegel, right? Beanie Siegel is that nigga. But he's still taking a back burner to DMX. And then, you know, DMX is still a man in 99. 2000, you know, the momentum is a little bit slowing down. DMX still got it, but Ja Rule got it now. Eminem got it. Ludacris got it, right? All these niggas got it. Nelly, they got it. 2000 is their year. And then you got the Cash Money niggas, they got it. Juvenile, BG, you know, them boys got it, right? Jay gets the Philly boys. He start copying they swag. He wearing a throwback jersey like the Philly boys. But really, he get the throwback shits from Cormega. Cormega was the first one. And Mitchell and Ness know this. This is true history. Cormega was the first rapper to start rocking the Mitchell and Ness jerseys. This is true A facts. You know what I'm saying? So he copying the swag because he see the Philly cats. The Philly cats already been on the throwback jersey. The first cat that came from New York that was wearing throwbacks was Cormega. You know, this is documented facts, right? So he copying the Philly niggas swag and how they rap and getting a little more aggressive. You know, he already was copying DMX. Now he's copying the Philly niggas. He's copying Beans. You know, Beans was that nigga. The streets love Beans. The streets love Beans, just like how the streets love Prodigy. The streets love Beans. And Jay-Z wanted that street vibe. Because let's keep it real, he didn't have the streets like DMX had. Or Nas or many others. He didn't have that. He had commercial. He's mainstream. Okay? So, like I said, 2000, he's still in the shadows. He's still in the background. Now 2001 comes. He beefing with Nas. You know, he's throwing shots at Nas. Now he beefing with Nas. And now, while he's beefing with Nas, he does Summer Jam. He goes at Mobb Deep, Prodigy, you know, say all what he said about P with the whole, you know, P tap dancing and all that and dancing and all that as a kid, right? He goes at Nas. Nas give him that spanking, right? But remember this. Ja Rule still at top. Now, 2001, I would say, was the year of Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the only album, Blueprint was the only album that he really had a solid approach. And he was trying different sounds. And you got to remember, Kanye West was working with Mace. You know, just like Just Blaze, working with Mace and other artists like Half a Million and all this. These dudes was working with other artists. So he's working with two unknown producers. And then he has Bink working on the album. So you got Bink, Just Blaze, and Kanye West working on, you know, Blueprint 1, right? He finds his sound by having soulful samples and all that. Not the aggressive melodic beats that he had on the other previous albums. Now he's going soulful samples. So now he's finding his sound through Kanye West and Just Blaze and Bink, right? Jay loses the battle to Nas. I remember, battle with the beats. He loses the battle to Nas. Jay, let's keep it real. Still trying to swagger Jack. He did the High 97 freestyle with the Philly boys. You know, and you gotta look. 01, he got overshadowed again. Even though 01 was his year and he had all the records out there and the videos and everything and Summer Jam and, you know, all that shit he had, right? Going on in 01. He still was overshadowed by the likes of Nelly, Ja Rule, Ludacris, Eminem, who was more, bigger, and huger than Jay-Z, who really had a broader fan base. More broader, you know, just like how DMX had a more broader fan base, right? Goes into 2002. 2002, the rise of 50 Cent. Eminem, still on top. Nelly, on top. Luda, on top. Ja Rule, dwindling down. So he does Blueprint 2, which was a compilation album. And a lot of Jay-Z albums were compilation albums. From Volume 1 to Volume 2 to Volume 3 to the Dynasty Not Blueprint 1, because it was all by himself. But Blueprint 2, a compilation album, which he had mad features on Blueprint 2. But like I said, lukewarm. Lukewarm. It didn't have an impact. He didn't have the crazy impact that he had in 01. Battling Nas kept him a little in the spotlight and made him feel like he was the man in 01, but he really wasn't. Because there was other dudes that was more successful outshining him. Let's keep it real. The dudes I named you, right? You go into 2002, it's the rise of 50 Cent, right? He's copying the Philly Boys, right? He takes Young Chris's flow, the whisper flow, bites Young Chris, bites him, bites his whisper flow, just bites everything, the swagger, the aura from the Philly Boys, right? Just to stay alive, just to keep trend hopping, right? Throughout 2002, right? You go into 2003, 50 Cent Mania. 50 Cent Mania. You had the Eminems, you had the Nellies, you had the Luders, but it was 50 Cent Mania. 50 Cent took over the streets, the airwaves, the TVs. Nobody cared about Jay-Z no more. Jay-Z didn't have the finger on the pulse in 03. Like, if you really look at it, I always laugh when people talk about the Black Album, right? Because 50 was killing the game. 50 came in, 13 million sold off of Get Rich or Die Trying, smoking Rockefeller boots. Because him and Freeway dropped the same day. That was fucked up what they did to Freeway. Jay-Z's I think Jay-Z's a piece of shit because he didn't promote Freeway right. And Ken was the only one that promoted Freeway's album on 106 Apart. And Jay didn't even promote him right. And they put him, they knew he was going to lose. They set him up to lose, just like he set him up with the Cassidy battle. He set him up to lose against 50 Cent. 50 Cent Mania went crazy. So 50 does his thing with Get Rich or Die Trying. Then he comes back with Beg for Mercy. Beg for Mercy drops the same day as Jay-Z's album, right? Say what you want. People talk about the Black Album. I heard more Beg for Mercy shit on the radio and in the streets than I heard Black Album shit. Niggas wasn't fucking with Change Clothes. You know what I'm saying? That shit, to niggas in the streets, that was commercial. Niggas wasn't fucking with Change Clothes. Niggas wasn't fucking with 99 Problems. Niggas wasn't fucking with Dirt Off Your Shoulders. Like, the way they gas it, it's like, oh, we was fucking with that. No, they wasn't. Because I remember listening to that radio. 50 had the streets. The mixtapes, the mainstream, the radio, the TV, 50 Cent had it. Stunt 101 was getting played ridiculously. Everywhere we go through, keeping it, come on, son. Popping them things was going crazy. Gangster shit going crazy. The whole Beg for Mercy album was going crazy in 03. Beg for Mercy was smoking Black Album in 2003, right? Jay-Z retires in 03. He retires. You hear no more from Jay-Z. Fast forward, you go into 2006. Kingdom Come comes out. Kingdom Come is his highest selling album. This is what people don't understand. Kingdom Come was his highest charted album ever. Highest charted album. And this is like, he was like 7 albums in already. And this was his highest charted album. Now, you got Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, right? Dynasty, Blueprint 2, right? Black Album. And then Kingdom Come was his 8th album. No, was that 8? No, 9th album. His 9th album. And that was his highest charted album on Billboard charts. Highest charted album. So, from a dude that been in the game for that many years, this is your 9th solo album, and that's your highest charted album. All the albums after that wasn't. So that means that's your biggest mainstream album ever. That's why I always say, what era did Jay-Z really have? Because he didn't have any errors. Because he didn't have the highest charted albums during those times that he was in his prime. His highest charted album was Kingdom Come. And then you fast forward, he drops American Gangster, which he took all the Def Jam budget money. And let me talk about Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come was one of the weakest albums ever. He had a lot of throwaway records that was like throwaway beats that was meant for Jada or meant for 50 or meant for Cam or meant for Kanye. It was like throwaway beats that Jay-Z had on Kingdom Come. It was his weakest project ever, right? Weakest album, right? You know, goes into 2007. This last album on Def Jam, American Gangster. The album that he took all the marketing dollars, right? Took all the marketing dollars, right? This is what I'm telling you. This man took all the marketing dollars for this album, right? Took all the marketing dollars to promote and do American Gangster. American Gangster was records that was passed on, records that was maybe for Puff projects, and he gave to Jay-Z, right? Solid album, but it wasn't, as I look back at the album, it wasn't, it was all right. It wasn't that great. It was okay. It was a solid album. It wasn't a bad album, but niggas ain't want to hear Jay-Z no more because he was out of touch. You know, this is 2000, and you got to remember, 2006 was the rise of the South. Young Jeezy's on fire. Kanye West. You know, 50 was still bubbling, right? Still bubbling. You had The Game bubbling. Jay-Z was just not in demand no more. Nobody was jacking. Like, yes, Rock Boys got played, you know, ignorant shit got played, but those were the only records that really got, like, played. It didn't get crazy. Like, what I was hearing on the radio around that time was Jeezy. And even in the streets, on the mixtapes, niggas was listening to, you know, the mixtape-wise, Stack Bundles, the Ransoms, the Max B's, the G Units, the Lil Waynes, the Young Jeezys. This was getting played in the streets. Jay-Z wasn't getting played in the streets because the music was out of touch, out of tone. This is when this nigga started talking about Basquiat and all that shit, and shit that niggas was like, okay, we ain't trying to hear you. You know, you out of touch, right? And you could tell he was out of touch with American Gangster. He goes in to do in 08, working on 09, he works on Blueprint 3. Now this is the era of auto-tune rap. Lil Wayne is the man. He's the man. He got the, you know, Kanye and Lil Wayne was the top dogs. T-Pain was on fire around this time, right? Jay-Z, like I said, Blueprint 3 is his highest charted album. Blueprint 3 is Jay-Z's second highest charted album, next to Kingdom Come. And that's his #11th album. That's his 11th album. And that's his second charted album. And this man had 11 albums, previous albums before this, and he only got 2 highest charted albums. That's why I always say, what era did this man have? So, you look at 09, his biggest single is Empire State of Mind, right? But let's just keep it real. He didn't have a huge hit record. That was his biggest hit record because of Alicia Keys. And then if you look at the records, like Run This Town and all that, he was feeding off the energy of Kanye West on Run This Town. And then he had records like On to the Next One. It was like, but when you listen to Blueprint 3, it was like, okay, we get you, but this is commercial hip hop. This is not what the streets is bumping. And this is why I say again, Lil Wayne, Young Jeezy, Kanye West, you know, the Rick Rosses, you know, 50 still was doing his thing. He had Before I Self-Destruct. These dudes had a finger on the pulse in the game. Jay-Z, not so much. You know, people would not like, okay, Def Auto-Tune was good. It was on the radio, yes. But these were commercial records. These wasn't real hip-hop records. These wasn't records that, okay, we'll say like, oh, this is real. This that real gritty No, it wasn't. It was Jay-Z trend hopping and trying to stay relevant. So he's doing records like Run This Town with Kanye West because he's trying to stay relevant. This is Rihanna and Kanye. He feeding off the Rihanna and Kanye energy. On to the next one. Like, it was records that he was doing was like, okay, this nigga's trying, he's trend hopping, he's trying to stay relevant. He's trying to do records that Lil Wayne passed up, Kanye passed up, and he's doing it. And that's why I always tell people, what era did Jay-Z have? Because when you really look at it and you really look at his era, he needed to stand next to certain great artists. He had to stand next to Beyonce to keep himself relevant. He had to stand next to Kanye West to stay relevant, to do Watch the Throne, you know, and to do other albums, you know, other projects. You know, when you look at Magna Carta, that was a compilation album. And what did he do? He had to stay relevant by, like I said, standing next to certain artists, right? Before then, before the Kanye Wests and everything, which he didn't really too care for Kanye West being a rapper, right? He was standing next to the Philly boys. They had the swag. He fed off of these dudes' energy. You know, Jay-Z is an energy vampire in this hip-hop game. I'm just going to be honest with you. And he fed off of the great talent of these dudes' energy. And really, if you really listen to Jay-Z's music, you know, and you really look at it, man, the nigga really is overhyped. Just like with the God Did verse. God Did verse was very overhyped. The beat was fucking trash. The verse was mediocre. You know, just like the What's Free record, his verse was mediocre. A lot of these Jay-Z feature verses is very mediocre. It's not that great. He's rapping on whack beats. And I think what saved him in the late 90s and the 2000s was that he spit on hot beats. And then he started to expose himself later on when he started doing the albums like The Kingdom Comes and the American Gangsters and the Blueprint 3s and the Magna Cartas and the Watch the Thrones. You started hearing him spitting on real generic beats, even 444 generic beats. And you're saying to yourself, wait a minute. So it was the beats that was carrying him and him trend hopping and who he was on the records with. You understand what I'm saying? Because when he was doing records like when he was doing albums like Best of Both Worlds and Blueprint 2 and Blueprint and Dynasty and Volume 3 and Volume 2, it was the beats that was carrying him. It was the production. You know, if you really listen to Jay-Z, Jay-Z really don't be saying anything that's really like technical, bar for bar. You know, he's a mediocre rapper. Jay-Z can be boring. I can listen to Jay-Z and not I have to tune him off because I can't listen to a whole Jay-Z album because his flow just gets boring and it becomes stale. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may be like 3 or 4 tracks I can rock, and then When it goes to the later tracks, it's like, the flow is a little off. Like when you listen to Jay-Z, you just gotta listen. Like when you listen to dudes like Nas and Prodigy and other rappers like Jadakiss and Scarface and Tupac, like these dudes flow to the beat. They flow is like water, you know? And then when you listen to Jay-Z, it's like shaky, shallow waters, you know? Some beats he'll flow effortlessly, right? And then some beats he'll flow trash, garbage, and it'd be boring, you know? And people don't believe it, but a lot of records, some of his records, he is off beats. His flow do sound off on a few records, you know? Like even when he did the Han record, like with Juvenile, his flow was off. He was off beat on that joint. But niggas ain't care because it was Jay-Z. You know, and even on 444, there's a lot of joints like Old Jane on them. Like his flow was off. But niggas don't care because it's Jay-Z, and that's the problem. And then when I watch platforms like Rap Roundtable, it's like I'm listening to dudes that really is just gassing dude and overhyping. You know, because if you're a real true listener of the music, you can't call this man the GOAT because he didn't have an era. And not only that he didn't have an era, he didn't even have the biggest album of the world. His biggest album, his first biggest album, was Kingdom Come. That was his highest charted album. And that was his 9th album. His next album to be the second highest charted album was Blueprint 3, which is his 11th album. So you had your 9th and 11th album is your 2 highest charted albums, and all the albums before then weren't. That means that you was a local and you was oversaturated and overrated and overly hyped. And the money is what kept Jay-Z on top. The money, the influence in the game, and the beats, and who he standing next to, and the trends that hopped. Because everything with Jay-Z was about trend hopping and staying relevant by doing the things. You just look at Def Jam. Jay-Z wasn't a face of Def Jam. Jay-Z didn't save Def Jam. DMX saved Def Jam in 98. He carried that company, just like how LL Cool J carried that company. So when Jay-Z became the president of Def Jam, what did he do? He replaced the dudes that carried that company with South artists. What did he do? He signed Rick Ross, Young Jeezy. He signed new artists to the label to replace the dudes like DMX, like LL Cool J, that basically carried that company. You know, and it's sad, but it's the truth. You know, and then when you look at a dude like, look at what he did with Beans and Freeway, you know, those dudes had to suffer being signed to Jay-Z, and they should have had more success. You know, and it's like Jay was, in my opinion, is an energy vampire. You know, I think when I listen to a lot of people, when they had these conversations about Jay and the dialogues, they're not very truthful. A lot of people's dialogues about Jay-Z is not very truthful. If you go back and you listen, the man is a biter. The man is not a GOAT. He's a swagger jacker. He's not a GOAT. He bit every nigga verse. From Big, Slick Rick, Snoop. Like, he bit niggas verses. He copied niggas styles. He stole niggas flows. Like, everything just is carbon copy. And that's why I can never call Jay the GOAT. You know, like when Melly Mel said Busta Rhymes, I do believe Busta Rhymes is better than Jay-Z. There's a lot of rappers. Jay-Z's not a 360 rapper. Jay-Z's not known overseas as the greatest rapper of all time. He's not an international superstar. He's Beyonce's husband when he goes overseas. He's known as a businessman more than a fucking rapper. Just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? And I think the lies that people do and the way they want to push it and rewrite history and push their own narratives is like it's dishonest and it's distasteful and it's shameful because y'all not telling the truth. Y'all so starstruck and want to be stands that y'all not being truthful to the audience by telling them, listen, this dude is overrated and overhyped. He's overrated and overhyped. No disrespect to Jay-Z, not saying he's corny or whatever, but he's overrated and overhyped. He's not the greatest of all time. He's never been the greatest of all time. He's not top tier. He doesn't have the greatest rhyme scheme. Yes, he has, good flows here and there, but the majority of his shit is boring. The majority of his shit is lackluster, and the majority of his shit is mediocre. He's not a great wordsmith. He doesn't put his words together like Nas. His flow don't flow like water like DMX or many other rappers or Pac. His flow is just basic and generic. And to the ones that want to say, oh, he's lyrical and over the GOAT, how is he the GOAT? Let's look how he jumped on the Jay Electronica bandwagon, right? Jay Electronica was signed to Jay-Z for years and years. Never once wanted to drop a Jay Electronica album. But because he saw the wave of Griselda and he saw the wave of Rock Marciano, he wanted to jump on that wave. So he did the album with Jay Electronica, right? Jumping on beats with Alchemist and all that, right? But all that was some trend hopping shit. He saw that the Griselda, the Rock Marciano sound was popping, so he wanted to get in. It was a bunch of culture vulture shit. That's all it was. So, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Culture appropriation, and that's what it is. The man is not the greatest of all time. He never had an era. If you want to say 2001, cool. You can say 2001. But we have to always remember, you had DMX, you had Eminem, Ja Rule, Ludacris, Nelly. That's a stacked house of great rappers. Just being honest.